Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
Thrive Suite Productions. It's February 8th, and on this day in 1996, the NFL and the city of Cleveland reached an agreement to keep the name, colors, and history of the Browns franchise in Cleveland, allowing owner Art Modell to take everything else with him to Baltimore. We've talked a little bit about Art Modell already and his unpopular decision to fire legendary coach Paul Brown 2 years after he bought the team in 1961, and that resulted in the formation of the Cincinnati Bengals and a rival team in the state of Ohio. Now, 35 years later, Modell was anxious to move the team to Baltimore for a fresh start and the promise of a new stadium. Modell had actually announced the move in November of 1995, the day before a Cleveland referendum vote overwhelmingly approved a sin tax increase in the city to fund a renovation to the stadium. But at that point, it was too late, with Modell saying, "The bridge is down, burned, disappeared. There's not even a canoe there for me." Several lawsuits were filed in an attempt to keep the Browns in Cleveland, until on this day in 1996, the agreement to keep the name Browns, the orange, brown, and white colors, the intellectual property, and the history of the Browns in Cleveland was reached. The NFL took over the franchise in Cleveland, promising a new stadium by the 1999 season, and told Modell he could go to Baltimore and the team would be considered an expansion team. The deal was ratified by the NFL owners 2 days later, putting the Browns on hiatus until the stadium and team could be built. That agreement was different from any move of this sort previously, just as had happened with the Baltimore Colts when they moved to Indianapolis. They took everything with them. Back in 1963, Lamar Hunt moved his Dallas Texans to Kansas City and became the Chiefs. Despite a different city and team name, the Chiefs still trace their history back to 1960, when they started as the Texans. The agreement did set a precedent in a variety of ways across different leagues, but one example of it coming into play later is when the expansion NBA team formerly known as the Charlotte Bobcats reclaimed the Hornets, the colors, and the team history back from New Orleans in 2014. The history of the current Hornets reflects the formation of the original Hornets back in 1988, with a 2-year hiatus from 2002 through 2004, and that's all because of what happened on this day back in 1996. Also on this day, in 1986, 5'7" Spud Webb won the NBA's dunk contest, outdueling teammate and all-around great dunker Dominique Wilkins to do it. Wilkins was the defending champ at the event, and with Michael Jordan not participating due to injury this year, he thought he was a lock to repeat. But even he was left amazed by what his Hawks teammate could do. In fact, Wilkins had never seen Spud dunk and had no idea that he even could. Webb sported a 42-inch vertical, and despite not being able to palm the basketball, he pulled off an amazing 360 dunk, a catch off the backboard for a one-handed slam, and a catch off the floor for a reverse jam that impressed not only the judges, but everybody watching. It was indeed a big win for all the little guys. And in 1998, women's hockey premiered at the Olympics in Nagano, Japan. Finland blanked Sweden 6-0 in the inaugural game on this day. Canada bageled host country Japan later that night with a 13-0 drubbing. The USA women would go on to win gold 9 days later. That's all for today. More tomorrow on This Day in Sports History.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.